Hello and welcome back to the Fixing Football podcast with me, Martin Naylor. This week we have Liam O'Meara, Luke Foley and Scott Naylor. Scott, let's start with you. How you doing, mate?
Very well. Very, very well. I had a nice relaxing weekend away and I've come back feeling all refreshed and charged up. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I think we both had successful results, so we can start there if you want. But we'll start with City and Chelsea.
I'm actually going to disagree. It's as a result on paper, us not.
You can't disagree with that, surely.
No, I can't. I just fucking did. Just hear me out. Hear me out. Here's where I'm going with it. In our current predicament, nothing but wins will do. We need 3 points every single week. We can't afford to be dropping any more points than we already have this season. So whilst, like I said, I was away, so I didn't get the chance to see the game, but I have watched. I've gone back and checked it out, and while it looks like we played well for large portions of the game, second half I think we started to get pinned back a lot more. I saw Poch was getting some flack for some substitutions, which I don't really think was very fair on the balance of what I saw. But yeah, we need wins, and while it's one more point than I imagined that we would get in the situation, draws don't help us right now. A win would have taken us 7th, I think, which shows how tight it is there. But now we're 23 games in the season and still 10th. So as lovely as the point at the Etihad is, it's not really much good to us.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that even if you were playing your best, sit a point at the Etihad, any points at the Etihad are a bonus. So a point at the Etihad is something you wouldn't count on if you was racking up the rest of your fixtures for the season. So I take your point that you need wins, but this was a 1 point that you weren't expecting. So I'd take that as a moral victory.
Did you both watch the game, or did all three watch the game?
Yeah,
I thought Chelsea played really well, to be honest. I thought
probably
they were the
best
better
I've seen
team
them this season.
Yeah,
especially first half. City was sort of quite dominant second half, but they applied themselves to decent.
I thought they had chances to score, definitely.
Well,
I suppose from my perspective, I kind of get what Scott's saying, but you need to win. But everyone always needs to win. Like everyone's got their own hopes and dreams, and so. Yeah, look, it's one more point than the people around you are likely to have by the end of the year. And to be fair, you've taken 2 points off City this year, which is a lot more than most teams in your portion league are going to take. So, I think you should snap their hand off, move on, and when you're starting to play your bombs and stuff like that, that's when this point will make a big difference at the end of the year.
Yeah, those are the games we can't fucking win. That's the biggest problem. We can't win those games. We've dropped too many points in those kind of fixtures already. So. The problem is we've left ourselves in a position where, sadly, a draw against City at the Etihad isn't that great because of the games in which we've undone ourselves earlier in the season. But take your point in isolation. Good point.
Where are you in the league now, Scott? I'm not looked at the league. I don't look at that far.
We are currently 10th. We are currently 10th place.
Right, and
if we would have been, we would be 7th if we'd have won that game.
I'd say that's pretty much where you are, though, isn't it? Like, between 7th and 10th, in terms of when we talked at the beginning of the year about your expectations, I don't think many of us would have put you much higher than 7th, would we?
No, not really. But I think when you look at the table and how close everything is, it's just little. It's always, it's always easy to go back and say, "Oh, if we'd have just won this game, we'd be here," and that's kind of a bit of a fruitless exercise. But when you see how tight it is. And particularly, you've kind of got to, given the position we've put ourselves in from a financial perspective, we need we need to get into Europe way more than everyone else around us, I think. So
here's
here's
one on this. Like, you played really well by all accounts, and you could have got absolutely tonked in this game. So, but you've got the confidence of getting a result away at City going into a cup final next week essentially you in that game on Sunday, you've completed all your season objective in one game. So I think just chill out a little bit. Everything's all right.
Yeah. I mean, as we covered last week, they've beaten the care out of me anyway. But your point is very valid.
Well, Liam, as soon as you're acting all lively, let's chat about Bolton for a second. Well, not too long, because the people in the comments don't seem to care as much as we do. But me and Luke have financial vested interest in how Bolton do this season, so we want to. I'm keen to know how the hell it ended up 3-3.
Well, we didn't play very well, to be completely honest. And I think when people who aren't fans in League One look at it on paper, they might go, well, it's Charlton, that's a pretty good result. But the answer is no, it's not. That's a team that's been struggling for a long time. I think they're 20th in the league, even with that point away at Bolton for them. They've recently had Nathan Jones, formerly of Southampton and, the Christian Faith's #1 football manager. So he's got a bit of a response at them, and I'd say Charlton played really well, to be completely honest. They were hitting us on the break, they looked dangerous, and yes, we probably could have nicked a goal right at the end, but we were probably lucky to come away with a point. But we've now got 3 tough games in a row. Away at Cambridge,
and then you've got Wigan and Blackpool coming up as well.
Yeah, Blackpool on Saturday and away at Wigan on next Tuesday, which I'll be going to that one. So, yeah, 3 tough games, really, which by the end of this month will be level on games with Portsmouth and Derby. So, this is a massive month for us. Well, yeah, these massive 2 weeks for us now. And, yeah, we'll see how safe your money is in a couple of weeks' time.
Liam, the cash out is at £132. What am I doing? Am I cashing out?
What's your return? 250.
250.
Let it ride.
That's just from promotion. That's just promotion I've got. Not.
Yeah. Well, here's the situation, right? Here's the situation. Obviously, famous last words from this, but you're talking 2 teams, 2 places for 3 teams. It's gone pretty much the way I expected, where us and Derby are there. I think Derby is slightly better than us, and they've just signed Dwight Gale today on a free. So us and Derby. The one thing I didn't account for is Portsmouth, who have been very strong this season. I still think they'll be the team to slip off, but we're in a pretty good position. Like, our points per game is strong. We're doing all right, and yeah, everything's going to be okay.
Good. Well, you still got them games in hand as well, so that's going to be probably where you make it up as well. Luke, finally, or not finally, see how much you want to talk about Arsenal, but
a lot.
United with your self-described nothing game did all right.
Well,
or did you? Tell me about it.
It seemed like they was in the game. Well, we scored 2, and then after that, it seemed like they was in the game from all the way to the end. It was, I think our 2 goals came out of. Do you remember on FIFA when they used to do hold triangle, and it was just like the longer you hold it, the further it goes, basically.
I had Xbox, mate. I don't know. I can't. I can't remember what.
Leo remember it. Anyway, that 40-yard through ball seems to be our tactics playing against Luton, which was, and we weren't finished our chances. Now,
is this Ten Hag developing a style of play?
Well, if we're playing like that against Luton, how are we going to cope against the top teams?
It's quite like Atletico's system, with this idea that you create breakdowns of play, chaos in the midfield to allow your front players to have space up front. So instead of pressing at the top end of the pitch and winning the ball there, you're relying on your pace. So you try and win the ball in like the middle to defensive third. So you're able to then break with your forward players, which, it's Newcastle do something similar as well. But I feel like there is an element of style of play there.
Yeah, definitely. But at the end of that, you've got to finish some chances, which we had a lot of chances, we just didn't finish.
Yeah, I think on another day you probably do. But like Garnacho had 1, I think Bruno had 2, Højlund had 1, we went through. See, on another day you probably do. That match is finished off comfortably. But Luton, it's quite a hard place to go to with that ground, especially the way that they set it up, where it's always night matches against the big teams, and there's the stadium's rocking and stuff.
Yeah, but the big team should be walking over me. I don't get that. It's the atmosphere and all that. Luton are going down. and United should be tonking them. That's in my opinion.
Are they going down? Are we still all on the Luton are going down buzz?
Maybe not. I mean, they're not in the relegation zone right now, as we speak.
Yeah, I don't think they will. And I think a big thing that will play a part is Everton's points deductions. I think Everton will probably go down because of that.
Yeah, it's really knocked it out of them. But at first we thought that they would be safe because the league was so poor. But Luton have done what we'd been asking them to, really, and started having a go.
You must have listened to you, Liam.
Well, that's it. No one's coming back saying thank you, are they? It was all, but whatever.
We'll take our credit, further down the line, at the end of the season when it's all said and done. Do you want to talk about the title race for a minute, Luke? We saw City drop some points, and Arsenal and Liverpool didn't.
Why are you using a title race to segue to Arsenal when you're not in a title race?
We're favourites.
You're not. You can't be favourites.
You're not favourites.
No, sorry. I said I have made ourselves favourites. That's where I was getting confused. Not
Can I
official
just say-
favourites.
So you think they're favourites? Is that what you mean?
This is what I'm saying. That's where I got confused.
Can I just say, Naylor?
Martin,
I know you
yes.
say. I know you say that Newcastle
Arsenal.
are not a bogey team, but you got Newcastle this weekend.
Yeah, at the Emirates, and we own one. A pasting.
Well,
That's what it's going to be. It's on the record right now.
We owe
it's
them.
going to be a pasting.
For that cheating goal that they scored at the beginning of the season, Joe Willock even came out and said, "Oh, it did go over the line," and he was the only one who seems to know what happened. Not a stadium full of cameras and Sky Sports.
I'm surprised you listened to Joe Willock. Obviously, he was getting booed roundly last time you played against Newcastle. I mean,
So he should.
One of your own academy
Why?
prospects booed.
I don't know, because he left us. I don't care.
One
I'm
thing
not
I
gonna
will say
cheer
for
him.
Arsenal, though, we highlighted a couple of weeks ago that Arsenal were struggling for goals, and they scored 11 in 2 games, both away from home.
He scored 21 goals in the last 4 games or something like that. Yeah.
Burnley doesn't count. Burnley doesn't.
Why
count.
not?
Because they'll concede 1 million this season.
But no, that's not the case.
It's
They
like,
haven't conceded
that's
1
like
million
LA
against
when
others.
he counts all his friendlies. Like, no, you're not having them.
Well, unfortunately for you, mate, there are goals and points on the board. So they do. And
I want Arsenal to do well. This is where you get it wrong. I just don't think you will. There's a difference. Like,
what do you do? Do you think it, or do you not want to say it outwardly or something? Because everything that comes out of your mouth sounds like you don't. So I'm just double checking what's.
I think you've got a way of just hearing the negative. When I'm often very complimentary to Arsenal. Like, I think that, for example, that Declan Rice is pretty good. So
yeah. But that's not what you would say usually. Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, he should be good because he cost 100 million. He should be good. Of course he should.
Would that be incorrect?
No. But that's not a compliment, is it?
Naylor, is it that close? Sorry, Martin.
Sorry, Luke, which one are you talking to, mate?
Martin, Naylor.
Yes.
Is it that close that if you lose a game, that's it, title over? And if that happens, do you concentrate on Champions League?
Of the 3 in the title race, for us, a loss probably makes it just out of reach now. But I think we've got City at the Etihad coming up. I think that'll be massive. Our other big games left will be Spurs away. I think will be a tough one, and United away will be tough. But other than that,
City have got to go to Liverpool as well.
But these are the other ones. I think our run of fixtures is a little bit easier than theirs. Obviously, Liverpool have hard matches left as well. That one against City will be a big one. And I think we could be above both of them by the time that match comes along. So that's what I'm banking on. I do think that if, say a loss and a draw in a row, it lands us out of it. I do think we concentrate fully on the Champions League. I don't think we're in danger of falling out of the top 4 or 5. So
I don't think you're in much danger of winning the Champions League either.
See, that's not very complimentary either. What's
Yeah, because I'll never compliment Arsenal. I hate them. Gone on record saying this many times.
Look, this isn't an opinion-based podcast or a factual-based podcast. This is an Arsenal propaganda podcast. And if you're not going to toe the company line, then you're off.
It definitely looks like one if you look at our Twitter recently.
Well, we're in Twitter jail because of someone, so we'll just have to see how that goes at the moment. If anyone else would like to follow us and then unfollow us and follow us and unfollow us a lot of times, that'll get you in Twitter jail as well. So don't do that. Just follow us and enjoy the lively, nice conversation that's going on. Luke, the big news going on at the moment, the story that's dominating our WhatsApp group is Dan Ashworth's inevitable appointment to United. Give us the updates on this. It looks like Man United are building a bit of a super squad behind the scenes. Something that we had highlighted as what they needed to fix first is the main point of what we're going at. So tell us what your thoughts are on Dan Ashworth coming in and what you think and what you know about it all so far.
Well, first of all, I think you two, both nailers, are being bitter in the group. That's what I think first off.
Right, for a start,
I'm just fucking sick of hearing about it.
No
Every
one else,
5 fucking minutes.
other than us 3, 4, no one else knows about our WhatsApp group. So unless you tell people what we're talking about, then we ain't going to know what's going on here.
I'll tell you what, it's every time Dan Ashworth's mentioned, you two, oh, Dan Ashworth, oh, again. Oh, it's not
It's
like we've
constant.
not heard about it before. Because it's big news. That's why.
It's not. No one cares.
It's a member of staff coming in. It's like you're getting a new cleaner.
Yeah, but this is what United need for 10 years now.
Yes, this is what we said. Let's get back to the point. This is what we said.
So his appointment, if we do get him, which it seems to be 20 million to get him from Newcastle because of playing hardball, which probably I would if I was them, would be a great signing for United. And hopefully he can get us back into this successful phase again like we had 20 years ago.
One question I asked is, or I have, is has there ever been as much pressure on a appointment in a position like this before, where it's never been this high profile for a director of football to come in?
I think there's one example, only one, and I think it's Peter Kenyon to Chelsea. It's the only other one I can think of that was a similar level to this. And it wasn't the same. It wasn't near it.
He'd left United and then went to Chelsea. That's what.
Yeah,
right,
that appointment came with a lot of pressure, I thought, because everyone knew what Chelsea were going to do at that point. So that's the only other one I can think of. Aside from that, maybe Frank Arneson or Damien Kamole when they've popped up at Tottenham and Chelsea's whenever they've been there. But no one like Ashworth, I don't think.
Nothing on this scale. So where does Dan Ashworth sit now? Liam, you probably know a few more facts than me. You've been on Ashworth Watch for the last couple of weeks. But he's been placed on gardening leave by Newcastle. And well, I guess we're just waiting to hear an official statement from them about where he goes. Is that right?
Right. So what will be complicating this, and there's no official word, but these things generally come down to something we might have in our own working contracts with a non-compete clause. So yeah, exactly. A lot of us will have that, and it's quite similar in this case. So I think what's going to be holding this up is the fact that Ashworth will have a non-compete clause in his contract. That if he leaves, he can't work for a competitor in the same league, let's say, until X year, which by the sounds is 2026 has been floated around quite a bit. So what United?
This is the fee, isn't it? What they're talking about
is to end this clause, yeah. I don't think it'll be anywhere near 20 million. I think they'll come to an agreement, but what the incentive here for Newcastle is, and again, I'm just sort of speculating really, but like, they're someone who's right up to the limits on FFP. So, would this go down like an academy prospect as pure profit on FFP? I don't know. I don't know.
It's revenue in, so
it's
I guess
definitely revenue in, and I think there were some rumours in January that Newcastle were maybe beyond the limit rather than actually. They might had to have had a bit of a fire sale come thingy. So it might solve a problem for them, but I think they'll be very frustrated that he's going. And make it difficult out of making difficult sake, I imagine.
I'd pay it though. I'd pay it. If I were United, I'd just pay it. It'd be a real statement for United to say, look, this is our guy. They were going to pay him.
Yeah, because this coming from the man who spent the last 2 years moaning about United tax. He's just saying, let's just pay him straight away. This is what I'm saying. There's no such thing as United tax. United is stupid. There's no such thing. You just done it there.
But if they don't pay it,
yeah, we'll overpay because that'll scare Chelsea. Yeah, like if we overpay them.
Just go in the past though. If you go in like the transfers we did, they would go in for something and then next year it'd be doubling price. So if they're saying 20 million, don't wait for it.
Pay 40 now. That make a real statement and pay 40.
20 million pounds is outrageous. There is no way that reflects his value on or his current salary with Newcastle United. It's just not happening. So if United do pay that, then Liam is right, and the current people in charge are even less intelligent than we think they are, because that would just be you're throwing a lot of money down the drain. You can play the waiting game, and you can get him for a fraction of that. And yeah, I think it'd be outrageous to pay that kind of money.
Odd for you to say that, Scott, because I'm sure Chelsea are money savvy, aren't they?
Oh, we're doing better than you lot.
Scott isn't in charge. He's not in charge of Chelsea's finances. Everyone can see Chelsea been daft with money. I don't think Scott.
No, one thing I will say on this is, as a fan of a club who have done a lot of executive appointing in the last 12 or 18 months, is that until he gets in the door, I wouldn't put too much stock in this. If let's say they do pay this money, or they agree a figure, and he comes in, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on this guy to become some sort of saviour. And there's no guarantee that he's going to improve anything at Man United until he gets in the door. We did this. We took a lot of highly regarded, well-respected executives in the football world, some from Brighton, some from the Red Bull Group, and it ain't done us a great deal of good so far. Granted, there's other factors at play with Chelsea, but I think I wouldn't sort of get my hopes up too highly until he's had a bit of time in the job and you can see some tangible results.
This is what I was saying about the pressure, is he isn't going to be afforded the, if United go and sign another Sabitzer or, their version of a Willian, like the same we did, and you're paying fortunes and you think it's going to work out, but it obviously doesn't. There's a lot more riding now because of this reputation that he's come with as this saviour of Man United. And especially if you do pay this compensation or whatever you're going to have to pay.
I think the real worry is the dynamic between him and Ten Hag and how that plays out.
Well, he's gonna have to suss that out early on, isn't he?
I said it in previous podcasts. I don't see a situation where Ten Hag stays at that club with him coming in and the new owners coming in, because Ten Hag would have had a style of play or what his proposition he wants United to play before they came in, and that's going to all change now when these people come in. So I just don't see how that's going to work, how the dynamic's going to work. I can't unless Ten Hag, they've already told Ten Hag and said, look, you got to the end of the season, thanks for your service, but we're going to look elsewhere. And that's why it maybe is the guy that's just been trying to get rid of all the high earners at United. Because that's what it seems.
I was going to say, like, the future's looking bright, but you just doomed and gloomed it for me.
Well, no, the future could could look bright, but I personally, I just don't see Ten Hag leading the way.
Beyond this season, do you think that's it?
Yeah, I think the summer is gone.
Interesting.
There's too much top level like management that have come in. He can't. It just won't work. They'll have all the ways they want. They want to how they want to see the club run.
Do you have any idea of who you would like? We're getting off topic a little bit, but is there anyone who stands out to you immediately?
Well, I know you might laugh, but what about Potter? He's worked with him in the past. That could be a good kind of dynamic with them two. And he did well at Brighton. Maybe that's why it failed at Chelsea, because obviously
If Chelsea was too big for him, then United certainly.
Yeah, but maybe it was the diamond at the top. Maybe he just didn't get on with Chelsea's owner. What, Ted
Lasso. Well, actually, that brings us on nicely to our main topic. So we're going to have a quick break and then we'll crack on with that. And we're back. Right, Liam, you have something you'd like to discuss.
I would, and it comes off the back of obviously me having 1 week off and leaving you two clowns to run the circus for 1 week, and I'm starting to hear about halftime shows and American things and Super Bowls, and it just made me sat there thinking, the American takeover of the Premier League is the single worst thing about it, and yeah, it really grated me. So I wanted to sort of take it on you two to turn and go, American things are bad, and we should actively be against all American influence in the Premier League, and before it's too late and we completely lose our identity and we're just all franchises and candy floss eating and nachos in the crowd, and it's just all turned into a big circus.
What do you hate about the Americanization of this game? Why can't we take good money-making ideas from the entertainment capital of the world and try and improve the game?
Okay, right. You've almost answered the question in your question, because you've hit the nail on the head about the one thing that matters most to these American super companies: money-making. That is invariably what it comes down to, right? So I'm going to rattle off a list of 10 clubs to you now, all of American ownership. And this does include Everton, which are about to get American takeover, right? Arsenal, Villa, Bournemouth, Burnley, Chelsea, Palace, Everton, Fulham, Liverpool, or United. All of them are either happy to be in the Premier League or happy to be in the top four and have absolutely no ambition in winning it, because all they're bothered about is sustaining and growing the value of their own clubs. And I'll add it on further on that. Most of these clubs as well are owned by sports owners in America that never come over to see their English club. For example, you've got Fenway Sports Group named after Boston Red Sox ground. Or, you've got Fulham owned by Jacksonville Jaguars owner Khan. And they are essentially just implementing things that have worked for them in America to make money in the UK. And essentially just waiting for the Super League money to come in before they then resell them back on the stock market. I don't know why you do like them, if I'm being completely honest. It stinks. It's everything that's wrong with the game. And yeah, I'm not going to quite plant a flag and say death to America, but I don't want American influence in sports. Please tell me
Scott, you go first.
I have two questions. One, what Americanizations currently exist in the Premier League? And two, how do you reconcile your opinions on, let's take Fenway Sports Group as an example. It's only under their ownership that Liverpool have won a Premier League or won well, not only under them, but recently gone through a very strong period of success. So yeah, just interested how you can say any and all American influence is bad when two of the clubs on that list that you mentioned under American ownership, Manchester United have won every trophy there is to win under American owners, as have Liverpool. So yeah, I'm just curious how you reconcile those two points.
Right. Well, we'll start with Man United. Luke, one word answers this question: have Glazers made Man United better?
No.
Okay, so that's Man United boxed off. Right. So I think most will agree with Luke's answer there, won't they? And I think, Scott, if you do sit and listen to Liverpool fans about FSG, they'll talk to you about it and how the idea that there are a lot of time absent owners. And yeah, there have been a lot of success on the pitch, but it's not been capitalised on in a lot of ways. They will discuss that and how they're not investing at the right times in their club to really go on and kick on and really compete with City on a consistent basis. There is quite a few murmurings on that front. But when we talk about Americanisation in the game, it's happening all the time. Like, the enhanced TV packages on Amazon, the fucking Super League stinks of Americanisation. Like, that's what this is all about. Like, it's from top to bottom. Internal media.
The driving forces behind the Super League were some Americans, but also some Europeans as well. And the fact, okay, Man United now aren't better, but they went a long period of time under the Glazers, staying on top of English football. Perhaps Alex Ferguson's the biggest reason for that. But if you're going to use certain things as a stick to beat them with, it has to go both ways.
Did Chelsea get to a Champions League final with Avram Grant as manager?
No.
I think they did.
I think they did.
I think they did.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm thinking of when we won it. No, yeah.
And
yes,
then
we did.
Di Matteo won the Champions League as a manager, yeah?
Yeah.
So would you say
very
that,
loosely, yes, he did.
So would you say that these were causation then? Would you say that because Avram Grant was manager, Chelsea went on a superb run all the way to the Champions League final? Because I don't think so, personally. Right.
No.
So
no.
Glazers didn't win the Champions League or the Premier League. The Glazers have made Man United a hell of a lot worse, to the point where their rivals are singing about their stadium leaking roofs, training, like Ronaldo's comments on their training ground. That wasn't a new thing. I think Zlatan said that 10 years ago about Old Trafford's, about the Carrington's conditions. Essentially, United is a complete money-making vehicle for American owners.
No, but you can't. It cannot be that an owner is only responsible for the club's failures and the successes. That's just not how. That's not how anything works. You take managers are the same. They live and die by the sword. If a manager takes a team all the way to the top, is amazing. If he takes a team down, he has to get criticism for that, and rightly so. So that's where I think it's a bias towards Americans that means that Americans bad, but when they do good things, that's also not good because Americanization. But I think a lot of the examples you listed aren't really American. What, streaming packages?
Yeah, the Amazon thing's great.
If the Premier League wouldn't have gone that direction anyway, with the direct, like, there could have been an American wouldn't have had to have touched ground in the Premier League for that to have happened. That's just the way the world is going. Albeit, yeah, it's an American business, of course, and they're driving that model. But the Premier League could be owned by 20 English people, 20 English owners per club, and you would still have had that, in my opinion. So I don't think again, this is like big evil America. I think it's mostly in people's heads versus actual facts.
Yeah, I think you only have to look at Aston Villa over the last, say, 2 seasons as a club showing ambition. Arsenal, obviously, since the Super League shit when Silent Stan stepped aside and his son came in. But we've been on the up and shown ambition and improved year on year since then.
Martin,
I think
Martin, you spent 4 years begging Spotify owner to buy it.
I didn't. Who are you saying? You. Yes, because we weren't happy with our owners and we wanted new ones. I didn't care where they were from, who they were.
Why weren't you happy with them? What did you call him a minute ago?
Silent, Stan, because they were silent.
Exactly.
Because they were, but then they weren't. But no, they're not.
But I would also argue that point is irrelevant if the team is winning. We had possibly the most silent of all owners in Roman Abramovich, who
Famously,
rarely,
yeah.
never says a word in an interview. Did, in fairness to him, when he was allowed to be in the country, came to some games, but not very many. And he is beloved by the vast majority of Chelsea fans. And, whatever you want to say about him, was highly successful. So I think the absent owner thing, I don't think if your team's winning, no one cares about that.
Yeah, but when they're not, like on the flip side of that, when they're not like we weren't and we were on a bad time, you need to have, you expect leadership from the very top.
Are you winning now, man?
We're on the right path.
What I mean is it's a non-factor. The owner being present or not doesn't really have an impact on. It's the people they've employed to run the club who are there day to day that matter.
No, but also there is accountability, surely.
Well, yeah, but the accountability, they still own the club whether they go to games or not, just like all their other businesses, which I'm sure they don't sit in the offices of every other day that they're not at the football club. So they still have to sign the checks and do what they do, whether they're at the games or not.
Yeah, but Scott, as well, for Abramovich's tenure, you weren't failing. I think you had one stinker of a season. And was that off the back of winning the Champions League or something? Or something?
He's after winning the Premier League. Yeah,
right.
League winning season.
And he always, money did the talking with Abramovich, where that wasn't the case with us. So that silence, that's where it wasn't coming in. Anyway,
hang on. Can I ask Scott as well? Just on, aside from football team success, because I feel like that's only part of it, really. Like, for example, your Champions League final that you won against Man City. I think they had an opening ceremony with, was it Camila Cabello singing three songs before the final? Was it?
Where's the butcher? Some Latin pop star.
Did you enjoy that? Did that add value? Did that add more drama to the biggest game of those players' careers? Was that good for them?
Apparently, she got booed.
Yeah, she probably did. And this is something that Martin and I covered on when we spoke about this on a Super Bowl special. In that these elements, like these things that they want to bring it, like elements of American sport that may try and bleed in, like halftime shows being one, are probably ones that won't stick because they will get openly vilified and booed by the fan base, and eventually they'll just go, "Yeah, we'll just give this up." So no, it didn't add anything to my viewing experience. Not to say that it wouldn't draw. If you had Taylor Swift doing the halftime show of the Champions League, you can't say that wouldn't bring more viewers. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, that would help the bottom line of the Champions League.
100%. The World Cup opening ceremony has become a massive thing over the last, say, 3 tournaments because of this.
I never watched that either. I skip all that.
Watched a single one ever.
I don't think they had one in. Did they have one in the last one?
Yeah, of course they did.
Oh, yeah, they will have done.
BBC
they didn't show it. That's right. Yeah, but they had a massive
little rats. They'll do all the rest of it, though, won't they?
It's a propaganda piece. So, Liam, what do the people on your side of this argument need to do to fight this incoming onslaught of Americanization in the game? What are people doing that they aren't doing? There's always going to be a line, an invisible line, where something becomes too much and it gets taken back, like a halftime show, for example.
Well, there's nothing we can do. Unfortunately, the truth is nothing we can do. The other thing that'll happen is we'll start seeing more things like the Super League, and then everyone will start going, "Oh, this is wrong," and the ship sailed, so all that stuff will happen. We'll probably have games over there. I imagine FA Cup games probably to start with. They'll say something like FA Cup third round all Premier League side. First one that gets drawn out gets played in Texas or something, and everyone will go, "Oh, actually, that's all right," because it's not. And then slowly but surely, then we'll have Kansas FC in the Premier League, and yeah, it's the game's dead. We've given it up. We've sold our soul to America like everybody else. Yeah, it's already happened.
Can that not be good for the game?
No.
Why? Bringing more money and eyes into the game, into our amazing product of the Premier League.
Is it short of money?
Why does it need money?
More money, more money. It isn't short
think-
money.
I think on the money front, and the chap who was on TalkSport was talking about this, and it's something fair to consider. Is in that in terms of revenue by league, Premier League is fourth, so 3 American leagues. We use that as a stick to beat Americans with. Your World Series only has American teams in, the NBA World Champions are only American teams, which is true and it is ridiculous. But then they have, by comparison, a smaller market to sell their product to, yet they are able to maximize that revenue and make more money than the Premier League, all 3 of them. In fact, I think the NHL is 5th, and the Premier League's closer to the NHL than it is the NBA, who's in 3rd. So they're short by a good few billion euros. I think it's
we don't
priced
need
in.
it. It's not us getting the money. Like it just, dude. Like who gives
Yeah.
a
Oh
shit?
yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with you to an extent, but if that is one of the biggest metrics that you measure the success of a game on, and the money needs to keep coming in from somewhere to keep the quality, particularly in the Premier League, as high as it is, because wage demands, unless we have wage caps, are only going to go up. Everything's only going to go up. So I think the biggest problem with Americans is they just don't get it, and I think that's such a vague term, but it's true. They just don't get football the way it is here. But what I think that we can learn is how to maximize the revenue that we can make, because they're clearly doing something right with that, because they're selling to just pretty much a exclusive American market and making, particularly the NFL is making triple what the Premier League does. And it's true. So there's clearly some things that we can learn. And I don't think we should close ourselves off to those things within reason.
Do you not think that when recently we spoke about FFP and PSR potentially of hitting its limit, and we've caused a bit of a crash in terms of transfers in and stuff, and the way that clubs are going to be spending money? Do you not think that it's right that we're looking at more money coming in from elsewhere rather than just players and stuff? Luke, you're shaking your head.
So I think with more money coming in, it just affects the rest of the pyramid, doesn't it? That gap between the Championship to the Premier League is just going to be too big, and it's just going to be a revolving door of teams get promoted, they'll get all the parachute bonus when they go back down, and then they'll just come back up. More money is just going to ruin everything.
Here's one. You're right, Luke, right? And here's one for you. So let's say Everton get buoyant and stay up, right? That'll be 11 Premier League teams with American owners, right? I doubt that a single one of those American owners values relegation and promotion. What happens when they hit 14? When they can vote it away?
Well, can't vote it away for the entire football pyramid, though, can they?
The Premier League would have to break away then, because it would have to break away as its own thing. Because that it comes into the football pyramid, and it's not just 14 clubs controlling the football pyramid.
Just
That
a
would
Well,
involve, but then that then it's not out of the realms of possibility. But then it would be a much larger effort. You would be then back in the Super League territory, which could still happen in the future. I'm not ruling it out.
Right. One more idea that I had in my notes that I wanted to speak about. So it's slightly on topic, but a side note, because I've got some sad faces looking at me right now. But Liam, what do you think of Todd Bowley's All-Star game? At the beginning of the year, he banded around a few ideas. So I'm just going off a few that he threw out there. And this is obviously it's a money-making one. What were your initial thoughts when you heard about that?
What do you think they were?
All right, I'll answer it for you then. I think you thought it was stupid.
But why is that a bad idea? Because I happen to think it's a good idea from a money making / like showpiece game that isn't competitive.
Because no one would.
When would it fit?
No
when
one
would it fit in the
shit.
season?
No one
When would it fit the
Yeah, but
season?
they would.
No one watches the
What do you
Community
mean, where would
Shield
it
now.
fit? Yeah, because
It's stupid.
because it's
No
not
one gives a
it's
shit.
not a no it would be a collection of the best players in the league, wouldn't it? From all different clubs.
Doing what?
I think there'd be a marketing element of that. What do you
And
mean
what-
doing what? Playing a game of football.
For what? Who? So what are the teams?
Well, his idea was North v South.
Well, it doesn't matter. the logistics of it doesn't matter because it doesn't exist. But the concept is, I'm curious as to why you think it's such a bad idea.
I think
what's the
Liam's idea against it was the fact that there was no competition involved.
No, it's just American bad. That's all it was.
Well, a bit of that. I mean,
it's all of that. You've not given any explanation for why it's bad.
No.
So, right. I mean, so let's take that example then. North versus South, right? So where's North and where's South? What happens if a player gets injured? Who pays for that? If, let's say, Haaland breaks his leg, who's paying that insurance? Let's then talk about where do you play it? Who's going to police that fucking thing? You know, you've got fans from all these different clubs going into one venue.
Hold on, this isn't why you're worried about it. Haaland's insurance and police.
No, but like these are genuine reasons why this couldn't happen and will never happen.
But it happened. You use the Community Shield as an idea, as an example. It happens there. That's not competitive either. Haaland could still snap his leg in that game. Do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of clubs would get rid of the Community Shield, to be completely honest with you, if they could.
They probably would. I would. I'm not that fussed about it, to be fair.
So where do you play it? How do you police that? I know where it would get played. It'd get played in America, wouldn't it? Or it'd get played in the Middle East. It wouldn't get played here.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's quite possibly the worst idea I've ever heard in my life.
Luke, where do you stand
there is still no explanation as to why you think that.
It isn't.
It's just American bad.
It is. You're right, Scott, and he's dodging the question. Luke, where do you stand on it?
Why would I want to watch a friendly?
You watch United friendlies. There'd be some United players playing. Well, maybe not. It's an all-star game, so it'd be all the good ones. But some players who have heard of Man United would be playing.
I watch the Premier League every week. Why would I want to watch a friendly?
I can't answer you. You've got to tell me why you wouldn't watch it.
I wouldn't want to watch a friendly. It's a silly idea.
Liverpool fans and United fans can be in the same end, like scarves in hand, cheering on the North. Is that what will happen, or like is that how we see it? Will Newcastle and Sunderland fans be hand in hand, cheering on their boys in whatever colour the North would be in?
Away the lads.
Away the Mackhams together.
I don't. If it could be done right, I don't hate it as some sort of pre-season thing. There's not going to be any competition involved. I don't know how you would make competition involved properly, but there doesn't have to be. Could replace the Community Shield.
If it was only England players, only English players, there might be something in that.
Why?
Because I feel like that would matter then. If it was English players,
players from the North.
Yeah, players from the North, players from the South. Forget the club element, right? You do players from the North, from the South, and they do this in cricket, and it gives an element of representation experience to players. So there's at least some value being added there. So players that maybe aren't getting quite in the England team, now let's say, like, for example, Kobe Mainoo on Curtis Jones, for example, would play in midfield for the North against the South team. And that game would, with English players in it, I think have an element of edge, and it would matter a little bit more rather than this sort of all-star club thing would feel a little bit fake. But if it was actually English players in that, I think it might matter a little bit.
But
I think that's a way to make it. I was going to say, I think that's a way to make it more palatable to an English. If you wanted a British audience to accept it as an idea, that's probably the more palatable way to do it. I don't think wouldn't be as big of a less global revenue opportunity because you wouldn't have half the people, a lot of people wouldn't have heard of. But yeah, I think to a local audience, that would certainly be the way to go.
But why would you want the revenue again? Why is it the argument revenue? Who does the money go to?
I don't want it. But what I'm saying is, if you run the Premier League, your job is to make the league more money. So that would be an avenue that you could explore.
To be fair to Todd Bowley, wasn't his idea for this that it actually went to the pyramid? The full revenue of it went to the pyramid. Which
and I will say it was a bit of a throwaway comment. It was basically, what would you bring in? And it was a bit like, we could do an all-star game.
It was in his Chelsea mission statement, Scott. Stop playing it down.
It wasn't in his fucking mission statement. But yeah, his proposal was the proceeds would go to the pyramid. Yeah, it was.
Are there any more bad ideas?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but that was That was the standard added time multi-ball. That was the.
Can't tell me that wouldn't make a game more interesting.
Fastest players racing. We'll have that again. That was a thing, wasn't it? Fastest player racing.
A Premier League combine. Right, we'll leave it though. I think you've made your point, Liam, that America equal bad, and also Liam hate everything.
No,
There's two takeaways. No, you don't hate everything. Most things.
I don't hate
Just
American
truth.
things.
You do.
Just them things coming to our things.
Yeah, just mind your own business. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, cool. Right. I don't know if any of you got the answer to last week's quiz question. You can fill
Remind
the
me what it
silence,
was.
lads.
Remind me what it was.
Remember what it was, because I've listened to loads of stuff since then.
Question was, which player has played for the most Premier League clubs?
Oh, can I guess?
You can guess.
Is it Yossi Benayoun?
Nope. Scott, do you want to guess?
I want to guess. James Milner.
Nope.
Nicholas
I wasn't going
Anelka.
to say him.
Nope. Nicholas Anelka is on the list. I think he was 6 Premier League clubs he played for. But I did give you a clue that this player had played for 8.
8 Premier League clubs.
Correct.
Johnny Evans.
No idea.
No.
Gareth Barry.
No. The
Stephen
answer
Fletcher.
was Stephen Fletcher.
Ah, yes.
No, of course it wasn't Stephen
Oh.
Fletcher. That is the stupidest answer I've heard all night. The answer was Marcus Bent.
Marcus
I
Bent?
thought of it.
Marcus Bent, 8 Premier League clubs.
I
He's
didn't
out on
think
his
it was
own.
that many Premier League.
There was 2 on 7, 1 on, and about 4 on 6, as in 4 players on 6 clubs. But does anyone have a question ready?
Right. I've got a question this week, boys.
Oh,
On the back of our discussion about cards, the blue card fiasco that we had the other week, who was the first Premier League player to receive a red card?
That's a
Premier
good
League
question.
player.
Yes,
Is it
first
Jerry- is it
red
Jerry-
card in the Premier League.
is it Jerry Taggart?
No,
I'm not guessing.
no, it is not.
So there's your clue, everyone.
It's not Jerry Taggart. Anyone who's
It's not
thought
Jerry
No.
Taggart. And the player to receive the first Premier League red card was actually a player in the Premier League. Those are your 2 clues that Liam has deciphered off his interrogation.
Is it Brian Dean?
Liam, we're not
Is it
answering
him?
it now. Just the point of this, right, is we go to next week and Scott gives us the answer then, yeah, and then we do another question and it rolls over and it keeps people invested and entertained and engaged in the podcast. Do you remember that conversation that we had off pod? Do you remember that?
Sorry.
You're welcome. Anyway, thank you all very much for listening. Hope you all have enjoyed it. You can find all the links to all our social media, as good or bad or as shit as you think it is. Just leave a comment and Liam will get right on that. You can find all them links at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com, and I will catch you all next week, boys. Thank you very much. Say goodbye.
See you in a bit,
Bye-bye.
boys.